recording. Okay. And then let's go ahead and start the run. So in the main, I have written everything in the main. So I'm just right click. I run as Java application. So when we run as Java application, so it will start the Chrome. I mean like the Firefox. Sorry. So it is doing it is doing the execution, and then it whenever it is closing, there is some exception that we got. So let me just leave the quit. So now let me run again so we don't get any errors. Right click, run as Java application. So click on OK. So it's running now, but somehow it's not closing the browser. So let me use quit and see if it is working fine or not. So right click, run as Java application. Click on OK. Okay, so using quit, it is aborting the channel. So now even if you see, the Firefox is also not there. Okay. So now what we have done here is, so we have launched the driver for Firefox. We have launched the app, whatever that app that we wanted to do. We have written all the test steps. So these are the test steps that we can consider. So these are the test steps. Okay, so whatever the test steps that we have to write, we have written, and then we are closing the browser. So typically any test case, you have to launch the browser, you have to run the test case, and then you have to start the website, then interact with whatever you have to objects, whatever you have to do for testing, you have to interact with them, and then close the browser. So there are few things that we need to expand this to. There are different ways of finding elements, so let's discuss more on how we can find elements. So when I say find element, right, so if you see here, if you go to any Facebook or any other page, okay, let me log out. uh, let me go to dice.com. Okay, so let me go to dice.com. So if you see any web page, we have already discussed, we'll have buttons, so we'll have text boxes, etc., etc. So let's go and write whatever we can see. So we have already written here. So we can see buttons, input boxes, drop downs, links, text, images, radio buttons, and check boxes. So there are these are the different types of items that you can find in a browser. Correct. So how can we find this element is one of the property that we have used to find the element. If you see here is by ID. So everything had an ID. So we have used ID for all the properties. But what are the other properties that we can use to find elements is what we are going to see right now. Okay. So we can go to the Firefox. So right click, the same thing. If you go to any browser, you can go and right click and then say inspect element. So when you inspect the element, it will show the HTML. So if you see here, there is ID. So if you see the ID, so we are using the ID field here. So this is the ID that we are trying to use now, correct? So if you want to use the name field, you can also use name. So how can I use name is, so if you see here, so I can use name field to find an element. So that is like this, driver dot find element. So you have to find an element. So what element you have to find? You have to find by dot. So by using what? By dot. So what is that? Name. So you can use name also to find an element. So it takes a string. So if you see here, the string is L. So this is given by the developer. So you can use by dot name, and then you can use here L, and then because it's a input box, if you see this is an input box, you cannot click on it, or you cannot select or anything. So what you can do here, you can only write. So you can write Dallas or whatever, right? So you can only write. So that is the operation that we can do is send keys. So you can use send keys, and then you can just do whatever the test data that you wanted to pass. Like Dallas, you can pass the whatever data that you wanted to pass, you can pass to this test case. So instead of ID, we have used a property called name. So you can also use a property called name. So the same way, there is something called class name. Okay, so you can also use class name. If you don't find ID, use name. Okay, first priority goes to ID. Why ID? Is because it is unique. So mostly IDs will be unique. Just use HTML IDs. So the first priority goes to HTML IDs. So if you don't find HTML IDs, then try to find names. You don't find elements with two properties, you only find with one property, either by ID or by name, okay? Not by using ID and name. So it's either by ID or by name. So if you are finding with ID, then if you are able to successfully find the element, then you are good. If you are not able to find the element, then if you have any problems, locating the ID, then try for name. So because some of the elements in your projects might not have IDs, so in those cases, then what you have to use alternatively is name property. Okay. In case if you don't find name and ID, then you can also use class. Class is something like the CSS properties, the height, width, and everything, right? It's defined in this class. Okay, so there are different classes that are there, so you can also use class as one of the property. So if you want to use class, then you can use the same thing, class. So you have to use driver dot find element, and then by dot. So you have to use class name. Okay, and then what is the class name that you wanted to find? You can see here the class. You have to copy this one and then put here. So this is the third one, alternative. In case if you don't find ID, if you don't find name, use class name. So by dot class name, so you can use class name, and then once you do the class name, then you say dot. So you can do dot click or whatever the operation based on the object. So if it's a button, you can do click. If it is a input box, you can do send keys. So this is one of the other parameter that you can use. The first one is ID, the second one is name, the third one is class name. Okay. If you right click, so I'll for Firefox, I'll use a tool. There is a tool called Firebug. If you just type Firebug, okay, Firebug. So just click on Firebug and then install Firebug. Okay, just install Firebug. So current stable version, just go and install the Firebug. So previous version download. Okay, add to Firefox. Okay, install. So this tool is called Firebug. Why, I will let you know, because it makes us easy to find out some things. So now let's go to dice.com here again. So if you don't find now, if we have seen by dot ID, by dot name, by dot class name. So if you find by ID, you can use ID. If you don't find, then you can use name. Then if you don't find, you can use class name. So now if you don't find any of, you will find some of them, but if anything is not working, then there is something called XPath and CSS path. So what is an XPath? Let's go inspect in Firepath. Okay. So now this is your Firebug. See, if you see here, there are two tools now. Inspect element is generally Firefox will get defaultly, you'll get inspect element. So now because we have added any extra tool, inspect in Firepath or inspect element with Firebug. So you can use anything. So pretty much both are same. So you can use tools which can help you in doing this. Okay. So if you see here, what is an XPath is the whole HTML, right? If you see here, HTML body and div form. So to come to this element, you are coming from, if you parse from or travel from in the top element to here. So the path is under HTML you have head and body, but in the under the head you are not going anywhere. For this element you are going to under the body. Under the body you have division, so you are going to the division. Under the division you have header and division, but you are going to the division there. Again you are going, so the whole path that covers the whole navigation here is nothing but your X path. Like right click, and if you say you can just say here, if you say copy X path, right? Okay, and then if you just right click and if you paste here, so you got some X path. Okay, so this is called this is called relative X path. It's not absolute X path. Relative X path is, it is finding by some ID again. I mean it is like by dot ID only. So but what it is doing a whole traverse of search to find out something like ID is equal to this thing. But if you see some examples which you don't have, if you don't have like let's go to this one and try to find out an X path. So let's try to find here. Okay, dev wrapper, right? ID wrapper, header, div banner content, container, div call. So this is, so if you get like this, like div slash div slash under that you have input of 2 slash something some like this. So then this is called absolute X path. When I say absolute X path means the path that is followed from top to bottom is the exact path, is nothing but the path that you are trying to do it here is absolute X path. So it is called absolute X path, means the whole path that you are traversing is the absolute X path, because the document that is present here is in the format of XML. HTML and XML are both similar, right? You have a start tag, end tag, and all those things. The path that you are traveling from top to the element, whatever element that you are trying to locate, is the path that you are trying to find out. So that path is nothing but your X path. So you have two types of X paths. One is relative X path, and then the other one is absolute X path. Absolute X path is like the um, like the whole path, whatever each and every element that we consider everything in the absolute X path. Relative, if instead of using relative X path, relative means it is going and searching using something. Relative X path is something like it is going and writing some expression and then it is trying to search. But if you are using a relative X path, you can easily use other fields. Like if instead of using relative X path, you can use by.id or by.name or etc etc. So in case if you have an ID, use by.id instead of using the relative X path. So in case if you don't have any ID or a name or anything, you can use absolute X path. So the X path is only an option when if you don't have ID, name, or any class name, etc etc. then you go for something called XPath. In the similar fashion, there is something called CSS path. I think, let me go and do it again. If you say copy CSS selector, and then if you give this one, this path, okay, this is getting only one. So let me go and find out if there is anything else. So you can also use cascading style sheet path, so which I'm not getting it here, but if you just select this element, let me go and okay. In any case, like you can just go ahead and find out using. So anything, if you want to find out, you don't need to try anything. So the whole path on the top, if you see the CSS path, you will get it. Like, or else you can just go ahead and select the tag name, and then you can get the CSS path using right click, and then you can get the CSS path. So you can just find out how you can get the CSS path. But you can also find elements using CSS path, the other tag that you can use. So if you are using CSS path, then you can say driver dot find element. Okay. So by dot. So you can use CSS selector, and then you can use the CSS selector by whenever you tried that you are getting the CSS selector, right? So let me go ahead and do it again. So Firebug. So if I just do right click here, select and right click. So if you say CSS selector, so that CSS selector will go here. So, and then you can just say dot click. So this is all to find the elements only, okay? Because in any of the application, the only thing that you are navigating here is you are either navigating to text boxes or these boxes or buttons or anything like that. So the main objective of automation is finding the properties or unique properties of these objects. How we can find? We can use different ways of finding it. The first one that we have used is we have used the id by dot id. So you can use id property to find any element. If you don't find anything by using id, you can use name. So if you don't find even by using name, then you can use class name. So even if you think class name is not working, then you can use xpath, by dot xpath. So in the same way, if you don't find anything, you can use by.cc selector. So there are a lot of different varieties of operations that we got. to select elements. So you can use any one of them. Okay. If there is links, see here there is a link, right? If you're using a link, right, there are two things in to find links. You can use by dot. So you can use link text. Link text is nothing but the text here. If whatever you see, right, link text, you can use that as one of the property to find the links, only for links. By dot link text is only for links. Okay. So if you want to use links, then you can use by dot link text. Okay. So if you want to use partial link text, then you have one more thing called by dot partial link text. Partial link text is like if there is a big link, like so if you think this is a link, right, or if this is a link, or if this is a link. So if you want to partial link is nothing but instead of using latest insights, you can use latest, just latest. So if there is one link with latest, then you will get that one. So you can use partial link text also to find the links. That is only for links. These two are only for links, but all others are for different elements like input boxes, buttons, radio buttons, text boxes. All those things can be founded by other things. But if you want to find something very specific, you can use link text or partial link text. There is one more thing that we have to use. So by dot tag name. So I'll teach this later. Why by dot tag name will be used. So this is we have to discuss a little bit more. So now there are eight different ways of finding elements. Two are very specific to links. So leave those things because one is link text and one is partial link text. So those are only to find an element which is type link. Okay. So if you want to find any other element using any of the other properties, there is ID property, there is name property, there is CSS selector property, so which is one of the property. There is class name property, so which is another property which we can use. So you can use any of these properties to find the elements. Okay, you can use either name property, or you can use XPath. Relative, there is two types of XPath again, relative XPath and absolute XPath. So this is relative, this is absolute. So let me, so these two, so you can use one of them. So and then you can for links you can use these two. So by dot tag name, we'll discuss this later. This is one of the type out of 8. So CSS selector, you can go and get the CSS selector, and then you can use class name. We can find it in the HTML. So using any of these things, we can find buttons or any elements that are present here. If you see any element that is present here, there are only 8 different ways of finding those things. So those 8 types are whatever we have seen here. And if you ask me priority of what you have to find first and what how you have to go with priority, use first HTML ID. In case if you don't find HTML ID, use name. In case if you don't find name, try to use class name. In case if you don't find class name, use CSS selector or XPath. So based on your availability, okay, based on whatever you have it, okay. So just use them. These are all used to find elements. Everything is an element on a page, so all the elements can be found using these properties, and these properties are given by developers, not by us. So we cannot do anything. So it is all given by developers, and we have to just work with them. So to find the elements, whatever is given by the developer. So whenever I open an application, this is developed by someone else. Now we are trying to, using Selenium, we are trying to automate this. So how are we automating? We are trying to find some properties and we are trying to automate this thing. Okay. So any questions, Kavita?
No, Bharat.
Okay, Raja?
No, Bharat. Okay.
Pragna, you have any questions?
No, Bharat.
Okay. Good. So let's try to automate one more application, and then just every application is one and the same. Okay, once you know that how to automate one application, it's the same process for any other application. So here I'm creating one more, main method, or you can use a class also. So basic class, and then you can say dice class, dice homepage. So here, whatever browser that you wanted to launch, I'll just copy all these things. The same thing that you do for each test case is everything is same. Okay, so you don't need to change anything. You can use Chrome browser also. We can use here Chrome browser instead of Firefox browser. So if you want to use Chrome browser, then here you have to change here webdriver.chrome.driver. So here instead of so here I'm trying to give one function. It is not main function, it is small function in the dice homepage. It is like perform search. Okay, void perform search. So for any class, if you don't have a method, we cannot implement the code. Please note this point, very important, because if you don't have any method, you are getting errors. So control A, control shift F is to format. So let's format. Now if you say webdriver.chrome.driver, so where is the Chrome driver? So let's go and get the Chrome driver. So if you see Chrome, so if you go to this folder, you have Chrome driver. So I'm just changing this one to Chrome driver. So if you have any other driver, the same way you will change it. So now instead of using the Firefox, we are using Chrome here. Instead of Facebook, I'm using dice.com here. Okay, so these two are same. So we are trying to open the URL, and then the first one is to system.setProperty webdriver.chrome.driver, launching the Chrome browser. So configure the driver and call the driver. So we are doing that right now. So here instead of Firefox driver, we have to use Chrome driver. So the class is different. So you have to just add the class because it is coming from Selenium again. So now we are not using any more Firefox. So we just remove it. So instead of Chrome, instead of Firefox launching Firefox, we are first setting the driver for the Chrome, and then we are launching the Chrome driver. And then so you can do for any browser, pretty much any browser you will have to do the same way. So then open the URL. So we are using driver.getdice.com. So let's check if this is working. But this is not, we don't have main method here. Here we had directly the main method. So that's why we were trying to run from here. But Dice homepage is just a page, like Java page or Java class. So we don't have main method. We can create an object of for this using another class. So where I can create one more class and say main class. Generally in Java, whatever we used to do. So here I can create an instance of this class, nothing but copy of this class. So first of all, we have to write a method to implement anything. So we can use main method. Under that, I'm using dice homepage. D home is equal to new dice homepage. So in the D home, so what is the first one that we are trying to do? So we have a function called perform search. So we are doing the perform search. When I go to the perform search, so you are trying to write the code. So this is another way. I mean, you can write it in a separate page and also call it here. Okay, we will see different varieties going on, but you can do it like this, like directly writing everything in one class and then use the main method, or you can use separate classes, but better to use separate classes and separate things. So better to segregate everything so that you can understand really good in Java. Okay. So now if you run this main class, it will go and run that thing. So and then I can say at the end close driver. So I can say driver dot close driver. This is common for each and every test. Okay. Close driver. So that is nothing but driver dot quit. So if I use quit, so it will just quit, or you can use driver dot close. Any of them. Don't use both. So now if I go and run the main class, so it's running the second test. It's like opening the Chrome driver or not. So it's instead of opening the Firefox browser, here we are opening the Chrome browser. Okay, run as Java application. So click on OK button. So now it is opening the Chrome browser. If you see, it opened the Chrome browser. So it is opening the dice.com. So once the dice.com is open, after some time it closed the dice.com. Okay. You ignore these errors because it is coming from the driver. So but now if you see, we have launched Chrome driver instead of using the Firefox driver. You can use pretty much any driver here. I mean the way to launch, if you can check in internet also. But you have to launch the driver, then launch the URL, and then you have to do the test steps and then quit the driver. This is your test case. Okay. Now our test case is like, if you go here, so I have to give the job title. The job title is like, say, I have to find out some title like automation. So I have to provide data called automation, and I have to provide location called like, say, okay, I have to provide automation. So automatically there is Dallas, but we have to fill that Dallas also. And then we click on find tech jobs, then we have to get the jobs. So if you want to automate, again, you have to right click, inspect element with Firebug, because you need to know the properties. So now here you have ID, and then here you have also name, you have a lot of other things. Uh, okay, so now you got this. You see, you have ID, you have name. Where is the name? So there is name called Q. So you can use either name, or you can use either whatever it is, but I'll use name here. Okay. So now test steps we are writing. Test steps is nothing but we have to uh, write all the steps that are there in the test case. The test case is nothing but you are writing the you want to fill these two things. Click on find text jobs and verify that the search is happening perfectly or not. So that we are going to verify. So now how we can verify? So let's go and try to write code. So driver dot, so first thing is we need to find element. So whenever we try to find an element, we used to find element by using by dot, we can use name. So what is the name field that we have here? So we can use name equal to Q. So that is given by developer, so we cannot change anything. So dot, we have to do send keys because it's an input box. So then we have to send automation. So I'm trying to send automation here. So then again driver dot, so again find element. So dot find element. So I'm using by dot. So what is the element that we have here? Inspect element in Firepath. So you have ID here, you have name here. Name is nothing but L. So just use L by dot name, and then we'll use L. Then I use dot send keys because again that is also a input box. I'm using Dallas as the select text. And then the third one is find tech jobs. Right click, inspect element in FirePath. This, if you see, it's a button. It doesn't have any of the IDs, or it doesn't have any if you see, it doesn't have any ID, or it doesn't have any name, correct? So if you see nothing is present, so there is no name, no ID, just class is there. Either you can use class, or now you can use anything, pretty much anything. So let's take CSS selector. I'm just taking for an example. You can use class name or anything. So you can use driver dot find element. So there is no ID, no name, everything, nothing is present because developer has not given that. So by dot CSS selector, and I am pasting the CSS selector that I have copied. So whatever the CSS selector that was there. So and then dot, you have to do a click. So because we don't have names and IDs, we have used a CSS selector here. You can use XPath, you can use name, or you can use class. But if you see here, we don't have ID, we don't have anything. You can use class, but CSS selector is also almost like a class. So you can use CSS selector. Now let's check whether it is working fine or not. Let's go and quit everything. Okay. So now let's go and run. So right click, run as Java application. It will ask us to save. Click on OK button. So now it is opening the website. There is some pop-up that has opened. Let's run again. So there is some error. So if you see, there's an error that is it was not able to find the element. So let's go and run again. So I just closed the pop-up, but you can close using the program also. So but just because that pop-up was coming, it was not able to find locate the element. But if you see, this is actually working, and then it is able to click, and then it is able to quit. So now what we have understood is, in this test case we have used different selectors. In this test case we have used different selectors, but the program is same. I mean, you have to launch the Chrome driver, you have to open the URL, you have to do the test steps, and you have to do close the driver. Okay, so this will be same. So there are other options that we can use in Selenium. One of the option is wait. Why wait? So now if you see here, for example, the program that we are writing here, and then the program that we are doing here, like the Selenium program. So this is a browser, this is a Java application. These are two programs. I mean, like, this program is different and this program is different because this is a browser. So now when I open dice.com, so based on the network, in one of the machines it might take, like, say, few seconds. In other machines it might take, like, say, another, like, 1 minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes. So you can only control your code. This is your code. You can control this code, but you cannot control the code that is coming here, because if there is a big page, so I've seen there is one page that I know of which will take a lot of time. Um, there is something like this one. So if you see this one, right, this will take a lot of time to open. So if I just provide this username and password, it will take a lot of time to open. So there are some websites which will take a lot of time to open based on the network speed, etc., etc., etc. So when you have some application, you are opening a different application, which is Chrome driver. Your Java code is opening a Chrome driver, and it is trying to run some program on the Chrome driver. So which is a different application, and then this application will give some HTML. We are traversing and doing it. So whenever you are moving from one page to another page, it is navigating and connecting to the server. Like if you click on find tech jobs, it is now rotating. It is going and connecting to the server, getting the information, correct? So whenever it is getting some information, see, so we have to wait for the application to respond. I mean, we have to wait for application to do something. So we cannot force the application, so we cannot tell the application to run faster or anything, because your Java code is only working on top of the application. It's not running the application as such. So you have to understand that you have to wait for the application to respond. You are not doing any application. So like for example, if you're clicking on a notes, or if you are clicking on Excel, and if you're opening two Excels, right, until or unless your Microsoft Excel opens, you cannot do anything. So you have to wait for the Excel to do something. So if your machine is very slow and it is taking some like 10 seconds or 20 seconds or 30 seconds to open that file, then you have to wait. I mean, you have to wait for the application to open. So what are you doing? You are trying to synchronize with the application. Means you are trying to wait for the application to open, because application is something which has to open by itself. And if it is crashing or it is doing anything, you cannot do anything, correct? So like that, your Java application also can do whatever task that you have asked it to do, but it cannot try to do something on a program that is developed by someone else. So this program is developed by someone else, so we are trying to do automation on top of this application. So if there is something, sometimes the response time is coming very late, or sometimes the data is getting loaded very slow. Like if you have seen some websites, they're very slow. I mean, so it'll take like nearly half 1 minute to 2 minutes to load a page. So if those kind of applications are there, then you have to wait for the page to load. How you can wait? So if you see here, I can just write something and then I can just do Richardson, Texas, and I click on find tech jobs. So when it is rotating, so I'll get something in the next page. I can wait for an element that is coming in the next page to wait for something. Like say, if I'm opening facebook.com, instead of Facebook, I'll open something else like monster.com. So when I say monster.com, now it is taking time, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds. So if it took 6 seconds, and we can wait for this element, till this element opens, or this element is visible, I can wait for this element to pop up and show. Means I can wait for an element that is coming in the next page. Like say now if I go and search for the jobs, like say a testing job, and then I'm giving the location as Dallas, Texas. And if I click on search, so now it is rotating. So I have to wait for an element like which is coming in the next page. Like say if you see here, you are getting like 100,000 plus jobs or something else, which is coming new. So we have to wait for an element on the next page. Till that element appears, we have to wait. So because we are waiting for the element on the next page, so that the page is perfectly loaded, we are trying to synchronize with the application. The Java program is trying to synchronize with the application to open, wait till the next page opens. So we have to synchronize Java application so such that it can wait for the application to open. That is nothing but in automation it's called the synchronization of the program. So why we are waiting? Because sometimes the application will take time to launch or load. Generally if you go to any applications like testing, in any applications it will take time. So how to write wait for any program? You don't need to do a lot of coding or something like that. Go and search for the code. So you can write Selenium wait, WebDriver wait. If you know the class WebDriver, and then you can say wait, WebDriver wait. So you will get WebDriver wait code. Okay, just Now you can just copy this web element equal to my web element, whatever it is. Okay. So web element is nothing but import. You have to get the Selenium class web element. WebDriver wait is WebDriver wait. Expected conditions is expected conditions. Let's understand this line. Okay. So if you see here, WebDriver wait is a class. It is taking driver. Driver is nothing but our driver, and the 10 is nothing but the maximum seconds that we need to wait. If I say 30 seconds, it will wait for 30 seconds, or it will try. It's like polling. I mean, it will try to find that element every second. If it finds within 10 seconds, then it will quit this loop. If it doesn't find, then it will continue like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, etc. So until 30 seconds it will wait. On 31st second, so it will not wait. It will just quit the application and throw the failure. So if it finds in, so now 1 to 30 seconds, right? In the first second it will try to find. So in and then if it finds, it will just go to the next step. In second it will try to find. So if it finds, it will go to the next steps. Like that, 30 seconds it will try to poll the application and see if that element is present. If the element is present within the 30 seconds, then it will go and find the element and do the operation. If it doesn't find the element within the 30 seconds, then it will throw the error and it will fail the application. So that's how it will work. Okay, so that is WebDriver wait. So that what is it is doing, it is taking the driver, the code, with the wait time 30 seconds. Till what time it has to wait? Dot until expected conditions dot presence of element located by. Presence of element located by is one of the thing that we are looking for, is located by using what we are trying to find an element on the next page. Okay, so if you go to this one, so dice.com, so then here we have given testing, and then here Dallas, and then click on find tech jobs. So now we have to wait for, like, say, testing jobs in Dallas, Texas. Okay, testing jobs in Dallas. So this text we have to wait for. Okay. Okay, testing jobs in Dallas. So this is what we wanted to wait for. Then so I'm just making to do clear because it's overriding there, right? So I'm just making dot clear. Clear means it's just clears whatever previously present. So I'll just do first clear, and then this one, this one, which says this to remove it, and then here. So it doesn't have any ID. So let me go and find out some other element. So let's take one of the element which will come after this one. Like, say, so you are getting these links, right? So if you see here, these links were not present in the previous page. Okay, those links are not present in the previous page. We can wait for that one to synchronize. So automation, and if I click on find tech jobs, so these things are new, full-time, part-time, these things are new, right? So if I right click and then inspect element, so if you see here, do I have name? Href. So I have only class, and I have input type checkbox. So if you see here, I really don't have any specific thing. Mm, I have a class name, but that we can use for now. So let's use class name. So we are trying to wait for one element that is coming new in this page, so that we can wait for full time, and then this page, once it is loaded, so then we can just go and do something on that page. So we're trying to wait for that element, and then after that element we are trying to do some operation. Okay, so after that you can say, so now what are we trying to do is, so first step is we'll go to this page, we'll start writing automation, we'll give the city pair, and then after that we'll try to find jobs. Once we click on the find jobs, we are trying to wait on this element to load this page, only to load this page. After that we are trying to find this text to verify that the jobs are loaded properly, because if this text is verified, so we have to verify something, right? We have to take a screenshot and verify something in automation to prove that we have done automation correctly. So here if you see, so we can verify using automation jobs in Dallas, because automation is the text that we have given, and then jobs in Dallas, so that's what we are trying to find. And then if that thing is found, then we say test passed, and if that is not found, we can say test failed. So let's go and run the project now. Okay, So it opened the Chrome browser. So I'm closing this. So it cleared this time and it find the jobs. So it is finding the automation jobs in this one. So it has done the work. So it was not able to find the element for this element for 30 seconds. So that's why it has waited for 30 seconds and then it was not able to find this element and it failed. Okay, it failed because it was not able to find this element. Okay, let me go and inspect again. Okay, instead of that, let's take any other element for now. Uh, Here, if you see, every time I'm getting reset link. So let me go and do inspect on this one. So this is a reset link which has ID, correct? So I can use this one as one of the good one to wait till this element is present. Okay, so I'm waiting because the page has to load properly. So I'm just selecting this element reset, and then this is not by class name, this is by ID. So I'm waiting for that element, and then last time if you see, it waited for 30 seconds because it tried to find the element for 30 seconds and it did not find it. So it failed after 30 seconds. So let's go and run this right now. So now it has opened another instance of dice. So if it gives pop-up, I'm just closing it. So now it finds the jobs. So now it was failing because I think it opened something else. So it was not able to find this one, which is class name container jobs container. So I can just change that also. So using different one, but you can just, what we are trying to do is, after that we are trying to get this element and we are getting the text here, and we are trying to verify if that text is present, then we are making it test pass, otherwise we are making it test fail. So we are doing a verification here. Tomorrow I'll just correct this steps before coming to the class. But here, what are we doing? We are doing the verification. So the first thing that we need to do in a test case is to launch the browser, to launch the website on the browser, to perform the steps, each step whatever we have to perform, and then at the end to verify whether we have done correctly or not the test case, and then quit the browser. So this is what we are seeing here. So we have seen a new thing called WebDriver wait. So why we are waiting is to synchronize for the element that is coming in the next page. So the wait time that we are given is 30 seconds. So we are waiting for 30 seconds until the WebDriver wait comes. And then if it is not found in 30 seconds, it will go and quit. If it is found within 30 seconds, then it will go ahead and find it and then move it to the next one. So first time it was not finding, second time it found, it went to the next element quickly. So this is about WebDriver wait. We have other advanced Selenium options which we will see tomorrow. Okay. Any questions, guys?